What's up, y'all? Quentin here with Catfish Karma, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you my theories on how to buy the correct fishing rod for your application, or more specifically, how to use the device that I've got here in my hands to ensure that you never buy the wrong fishing rod again. I mean, nobody wants to get stuck with a fishing rod that they can't use, and nobody wants to look like this guy over here or that guy over there who have no idea how to shop for a fishing rod. Let's do this. Okay, so as I mentioned in the intro, the focus of today's video is just sharing my theories on how to buy the correct fishing rod for our intended application, or more importantly, let's make sure that we don't buy the wrong fishing rod for our intended application, because nobody wants to get stuck with a bunch of fishing rods that don't suit our needs and therefore we won't use. I doubt that there's ever been a time in the history of fishermen that we as consumers have had the selection that we have today. It's kind of mind-boggling, the choices that we have out there. There's hundreds of rod manufacturers offering up dozens of colors and power ratings and actions and lengths and every combination we could possibly ask for, which is a good thing, but it can be overwhelming. And that's probably why I've had, in the last few years on YouTube, probably, 1,000 different people ask me about the rods that I'm using in my videos. Some of you guys get caught up on the brand thing, like, why am I using this brand in this video and 3 brands in that video? But that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about breaking down what I think is the most important criteria for us to consider when we're shopping for a fishing rod. That said, I want you guys to look at this as a battle, okay? It's a battle for the manufacturers to earn our business. They're fighting it out with each other. But it's kind of a battle on our end too, to make sure that we spend our money wisely, because we've got all those choices out there, and we've got to mentally win that battle and look past the marketing, like the flashy colors and what matches our tackle bag and which brand is hip and cool at the moment. We've got to battle past all that. Now, I don't know about y'all, but in my personal opinion, it's a pretty poor choice to go into any sort of battle against multiple opponents without some sort of weapon. I mean, why would we waltz into a massive fist fight without brass knuckles? Or a knife fight without a sword? If I'm going into a gun battle, could somebody please loan me their bazooka? You get the point. So I'm telling you guys, no more going into your local Walmart or your tackle shop or catfish conference with nothing in your hand and carrying on like this and those other goofballs. No more of that. When the answer is as simple as a sinker that matches what you're going to cast, suspend, or perhaps even troll in a piece of mono, or a sinker that represents what you're going to cast or suspend in a quick clip. Whichever you prefer, whichever method suits you. The reality is all those wiggles and all that weird stuff that we all see people doing every time we go down a fishing aisle, that doesn't tell us anything. However, a deflection tester will tell us a lot. Now, this is getting really wordy, and what I really want to do is show this in real world results. So I've set up a little deflection test over here, and we'll get into this just a little bit deeper. All right, y'all, check this out. I'm about to set up a little demonstration here that I hope will fully emphasize the importance of this, the test weight that I'm suggesting that you guys come up with and carry with you every single time you go shopping for new fishing rods. That classic wiggle that we're all used to, all that carrying on and all that nonsense that we've all seen a million times, it will tell you nothing compared to what your test weight will tell you if you'll simply hang it off the end of these rods. Your test weight should closely simulate the total combined weight of the average sinker that you would throw or suspend and that bait that you would throw or suspend. Those two added together. If you're tossing 6 ounces of lead and 2 ounces of bait, that's 8 ounces. You need an 8-ounce test weight. If you're suspending 24 ounces and 6 ounces of bait, you probably need to have a 30-ounce test weight and load these rods up in a realistic manner. These will go right in your pocket. You know, you can carry it wherever you're going to do a little test in the store. To prove the point, I have here all of the powers available in the Rippin' Lips Legacy Rod series of rods. These are all brand new. They're not broken in, so the results will be consistent. I have the heavy, I have the medium heavy, the medium, and the medium light. They're all represented here. We're going to line them up in identical rod holders. I'm going to put 8 ounces on all of them, and then I'll throw some more significant or maybe even smaller weights on here and show you the difference. And hopefully at the end of this video you'll say, yep, I need to come up with a test weight so that the next time I go to Catfish Conference or the next time I go to Walmart, I'm prepared to buy the correct fishing rod. Here we go. Let's load these dudes up. All right, y'all, there you have it. 4 rods of the exact same series in identical rod holders with identical test weights and drastically different results. All right, I can tell you from experience that a load like this with an 8-ounce test weight, it's gonna cast like a dream. This rod will chuck a test weight like that a country mile. It's certainly not gonna stress the rod out. That's a great looking static load right there. The medium heavy, this is more typical of what I would usually throw. I use the medium heavy more than anything else, and I'm generally never throwing less than 8 ounces. The distance is good, the accuracy is good, it's not gonna break a rod. The medium, it's stressed a little more. I wouldn't call it too much. It's not my desired static load result. It'll get the job done. This is not good if we're casting, guys. That's way too much tip load in a static situation. That said, if we were suspending, I'm liking this. I don't like this. I want that, when I'm suspending baits, I want a little bit of load on the tip. Generally, if I'm suspending, I've got a lot more than 8 ounces. We'll take a look at that in a moment, but I want you to keep this in mind because I'm about to change these out. Okay, y'all, check it out. We've lightened things up quite a bit. Now only 2-ounce test weights versus the 8 ounce in the last test. You're going to see that this heavy, it's not loaded at all. Even the medium heavy and the medium, they're not really loaded, whereas the medium light is. That's a drastic difference, given the small amount of weight that's on here. This is the happy zone that this medium light lives in. It's rated for 2 to 4 ounces. 2-ounce test weight gives a nice tip load. You get a beautiful cast on that. These would cast it fine. This medium, it might hook a little bit. If you're familiar with golf and you get a bad swing and the ball hooks off to one way or the other or slices, you might get a little bit of that. You could adjust for it, but there's really no reason to use a rod this heavy if you only need to cast this amount of lead and weight. I mean, why deaden the fight of the fish by using an overkill rod if you don't need to cast this much? The truth of the matter is this medium light, if you've got your drag set right, it's going to catch almost anything in your lake or river if your drag is set right. It's not going to fail. Your drag is going to be set at what, 5 to 8 pounds? This rod would have no problem with that. It's going to get a beautiful cast, and it's not going to completely deaden your fight when you've got a, say, a 5 or 10 pounder on there, whereas this one would. I mean, you'd overwork that fish. So this would be the wrong choice. If all you needed to cast was 2 to 4 ounces, why run that rod when you could run this one or this one? I hope that makes sense. Let's move to the next test weight. Okay, y'all, check it out. If I am shopping for fishing rods specifically for suspending big weights and big baits in fast, deep water, then that test weight is a good place to start. That's 16 ounces. Typically, if I am suspending baits, I'm never going to be using less than that because I'm always dealing with some current on the Mississippi River, and I want to know exactly where my bait is. I don't want it swept out behind the boat. I want it right below the boat. This obviously, this is an unhappy rod right here. There's no reason to run a rod that light if you're going to suspend big weights and big baits. It's just overworking the rod in my personal opinion. Not that it's going to break, but I'm liking one of these two better. I always want some tip load when I'm suspending. Sure, it's not like a cat, you don't need the load for casting because you're just dropping it down. But this tip load is one of your indicators, one of your tells on whether or not you're getting a bite and whether or not your bait is near or on the bottom. different types of strikes do happen. You know, sometimes the fish will just pick the weight up, and your rod is just going to go straight out because there's no weight on it. But if you're using a rod that's way too heavy for the bait that you've got down there and it just stays straight out, you don't have that tail. If it's loaded, you get a lot more information off the rod when you're suspending. I hope that makes sense. We're about to step it up a notch and really put these rods to the test. All right, y'all, simply because sometimes we just can't resist but to put the biggest weights and the biggest baits in the deepest, fastest part of the river, we've got to have some 32-ounce test weights to simulate that scenario and look at the drastic difference. That medium light is really unhappy. The medium's not having a great day. Medium heavy's not too bad, and the heavy is very comfortable working like that all day long. And out of these results, you guys might ask yourselves, well, why would I ever need the two in the middle? And I'll give you the answer. It's because we don't always live on one opposite end of the spectrum or the other. Sometimes we only need to cast that 2 or 3 ounces, which this one will do, but maybe the fish we want is out in the middle of the river right by some submerged cover, and we want to be able to turn that fish before it goes into the cover. So while this one would get the weight and bait there, maybe we would want to consider the medium or the medium heavy so that we can turn that fish. Or vice versa. Look, the whole point of that demonstration was really just to impress upon you guys that there are some differences that actually matter when you're shopping for a fishing rod. It's not color, it's not reel seat type, it's certainly not what's popular for the month, right? What matters is, can you or can you not get your bait to the right location and keep it there? If that bait is not presented in the right spot and you can't keep it there, you've lost the battle before it even began. So when you're shopping for a fishing rod, you better have a test weight. It's a great way to give you an actual point of reference. Figure out what you're throwing the most often. You know, add that sinker and that bait weight together. Whatever you throw the most, get you a test weight to simulate that. Put a little loop on there or a quick clip, put it in your pocket, head on down to wherever it is that you're shopping for fishing rods, and you'll be a lot farther ahead than these yahoos just wiggling and shaking and carrying on and doing all kinds of nonsense, getting goofy looks in the aisle of the local sporting goods store. And to these guys, thanks for being good sports and sending in those clips. I enjoyed them. Those of you watching this video, I appreciate you tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all?